Admiral Zefkar of the Hegemony's Third Fleet adjusted his neural interface, allowing the satisfying weight of superiority to settle over his consciousness. Through the vast transparasteel viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, he observed the small blue world that had dared to reject the Hegemony's generous offer of subjugation. Primitives, he muttered, his forearms gesturing dismissively at the tactical display. Earth hung there like a defiant jewel, its surface crawling with what the Hegemony's xenobiologists had classified as barely sentient bipeds. They still use chemical propulsion and broadcast electromagnetic signals like savages shouting across a canyon. Fleet Commander Yithnol, his scales shimmering with nervous energy, approached the command dais. Admiral, the humans have transmitted another response to our ultimatum. Let me guess. Zefkar's mandibles clicked in amusement. More of their quaint posturing about freedom and dignity. Actually, sir, Yithnol's voice carried a note of confusion. They said, and I quote, "Thanks for the heads up. We'll be ready." The Admiral's laughter resonated through the bridge, a sound like grinding metal. In his 300 cycles of conquest, he had heard every variation of defiance from doomed species. The human's response was refreshingly brief, if equally futile. "Begin the bombardment," he commanded. "Standard protocol. Target their population centers and industrial complexes. Leave enough survivors for mining operations." The Hegemony fleet, comprising over 2,000 vessels, moved into attack formation. Each ship was a masterwork of gravitational manipulation technology, their hulls forged from exotic matter that could withstand the collapse of stars. Their weapon systems could crack continents, and their shields had never been breached by any force in the known galaxy. As the fleet approached optimal firing range, something unprecedented occurred. "Admiral," the sensor operator's voice cracked with disbelief. "We're detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's surface, thousands of them." Zefkar's expression shifted from amusement to irritation. "Impossible. Our intelligence indicates they've barely achieved fusion technology. What could they possibly?" The first human vessel materialized. It simply appeared. One moment, empty space stretched between Earth and the Hegemony fleet. The next, a sleek craft roughly half the size of a standard Hegemony destroyer hung motionless in the void. No engine signatures, no gravitational distortions, no quantum wake that should have announced its arrival. Then another appeared, and another. Within minutes, the space around Earth bloomed with human ships, each one materializing from what the Hegemony's most advanced sensors registered as absolutely nothing. The vessels themselves defied conventional understanding. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, creating an unsettling visual effect that made them difficult to track. "How many?" Zefkar demanded, his earlier confidence evaporating. "Estimated 12,000 vessels, sir, and still counting." The Admiral's four hearts skipped in unison. The humans had somehow hidden a fleet 3 times larger than the one that had taken him decades to assemble. But more disturbing than their numbers was their technology. The ships showed no heat signatures, no energy readings, nothing that should have indicated functioning systems. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel." On screen, a human face appeared on the main display, unremarkable by Hegemony standards, with the typical bilateral symmetry and crude sensory organs of their species. The creature spoke in its primitive language, which the universal translator rendered into proper Hegemony standard. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered our system with hostile intent. We strongly advise you to reconsider." Zefkar drew himself to his full height. "I am Admiral Zefkar of the Hegemony Third Fleet. Your pathetic display changes nothing. We have conquered 1,000 worlds, and yours will fall like all the others." The human's expression remained infuriatingly calm. "Admiral, with respect, you've been operating under some misconceptions about our capabilities. What you see as primitive technology is actually something else entirely." "Impossible. Your intelligence observed what we wanted you to observe," Chen interrupted. "Chemical rockets, radio broadcasts, nuclear weapons, all genuine human technology, but hardly our most advanced. We've been aware of the hegemony for quite some time. Zefkar's mandibles clicked nervously. You're bluffing. No species achieves interstellar capability without our sensors detecting the associated technological signatures. That's where you're wrong, Chen replied. You see, Admiral, every species you've encountered followed the same technological path, manipulating fundamental forces, bending space-time, harnessing exotic matter. It's an elegant approach, very sophisticated. She paused, and something in her smile made Zefkar's scales crawl. Humans took a different route. We didn't try to master the universe's forces. We learned to ignore them entirely. Before Zefkar could respond, the human fleet moved. It wasn't movement in any sense his tactical computers could comprehend. The ships didn't accelerate or maneuver. They simply stopped being in one place and started being in another. In an instant, 12,000 human vessels surrounded the hegemony fleet in a perfect three-dimensional grid. Impossible, Zefkar whispered. You can't simply ignore physics. We're not ignoring physics. Chen's voice came from everywhere, at once as human ships materialized around each hegemony vessel. We're using a different set entirely. While you were perfecting your mastery over the universe, we were learning to step outside it. The tactical display showed human ships phasing through hegemony shields as if they didn't exist, which from their perspective, they apparently didn't. Boarding pods materialized inside hegemony vessels, bypassing every defense system in ways that violated every law of physics the hegemony understood. This is impossible, Zefkar repeated, his worldview crumbling. Admiral, Chen's voice was almost gentle now. You called us primitive because we couldn't do what you do. You never considered that we might have learned to do what you couldn't. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as human forces materialized throughout its corridors. Zefkar's crew reported similar phenomena across the entire fleet, borders appearing from nowhere, moving through solid matter, disabling systems by methods that defied comprehension. Your choice, Admiral, Chen continued. Surrender, or we demonstrate why stepping outside conventional reality makes conventional defenses irrelevant. Zefkar looked at his tactical display where 2,000 hegemony ships sat helpless, surrounded by an enemy that operated by rules he couldn't even perceive, let alone counter. For the first time in 300 cycles of conquest, Admiral Zefkar of the hegemony's Third Fleet transmitted an unconditional surrender. As human ships began escort operations, Chen's final transmission reached his bridge. The universe is bigger than any one species' understanding of it, Admiral. Perhaps it's time the hegemony learned that lesson. The primitive humans, it seemed, had been anything but.